This is a CNA podcast.
Water. Some call it liquid gold. It's the planet's most precious resource, and it's easy to take for granted when it's available for many of us at the turn of a tap. But for some, that luxury is hard to come by. South Korea is the 10th largest economy in the world, and unbelievably, for 1 million people there, finding water has become a struggle. How did one of the richest countries in the world get to this point? I'm your host, Teresa Tang. In this episode of CNA Correspondent, we talk to Lim Yun Suk about whether things are going to get worse before they get better, and what can be done to save this essential element. Hi, Yun Suk.
Hi, Teresa.
So I moved to Singapore from Canada about 6 years ago, and one thing I was really thankful for was the fact that you can drink the tap water here, because I know clean water from the faucet is not a privilege that a lot of the planet enjoys. I want you to take us to Jeolla province. Why is there a water crisis there?
Well, first of all, this Jeolla province is this province way down in the southern part of South Korea. And the reason is really simple. There's just simply no rain here in South Korea these days. You know, we do get a few days of drizzle here and there, but apart from that, we haven't really had much rain here. And so for the story, I traveled down to the Jeolla province, and even in this main city of Gwangju, there were concerns of water, and you were able to see these placards and banners telling people to try and save water. And, you know, the dams over there in Gwangju, they were drying up. The water level is way below what they were in the past and what is needed to give to for the residents there to survive on. There's this place called Dongbok Dam there too, where, you know, I went to visit, and it didn't seem at all like a dam. And it was just like as if I was in a desert.
Oh my gosh.
It was like really dry, and it wasn't just even the word dry. Yes, I think the word a desert would describe this place much better. And apparently, you know, even last year, the situation here was bad because there was only about 800 millimeters of rain, which apparently was only about 60% of what they got the year before that. And so this is an issue that's been ongoing here in Korea. And this year, many of the officials were saying that they don't think they'll even get last year's amount. And so this is a big concern here in South Korea right now.
Yeah, those half-filled dams in your story, I saw the pictures. It's very disturbing because it gives you a sense of just how much water there's supposed to be. Okay, so what does this crisis look like for people there? I know you spoke to some who are directly affected by this water emergency. Can they even believe South Korea is facing a crisis like this, given it's one of the richest nations in Asia?
Well, you know, I think apart from what those people in Jeolla province think, when I started doing this research, it was really hard for me to believe that this was happening here in South Korea, and this was not where in another country, you know, that we see in the news. Mm-hmm. And so doing the story and learning about this was really fascinating for me too. But also, even today, this afternoon, I was talking to people here in the Central Seoul about this, and they have no idea what's happening down in the southern Jeolla province. The people, apart from those in Jeolla province, have no idea that this country has this water crisis. And so that is very surprising too, that the central government has not really told many of the people here in Central Seoul. And the local media hasn't really touched on it. They would once in a while, but I don't think the people really realizes the seriousness of this issue. But definitely, you know, there's people living that Jeolla province, and even in that Gwangju city alone, they tell me that the situation is very real.
It's hard for me to believe that there is a water shortage. I receive text messages every day that ask residents of Gwangju to cooperate in saving water. We cannot simply ignore these messages.
Even if it's uncomfortable, we endure endure it. What else can I do when it's not raining? This is how we have to live. I put water in a plastic bottle to use in the bathroom, do the laundry all at once, and turn on water little by little when I need it.
Given the situation, I think it does offer an opportunity for people to consider how to conserve water, maybe not be so wasteful. And I feel like for the older generation, Yun Suk, I know for my grandparents, for example, they didn't flush the toilet if they didn't have to, if you know what I mean. If it's yellow, let it mellow. If it's brown, flush it down. But you really forget how important water is to our daily lives and livelihoods, actually. Can you talk to us about how this shortage is impacting business in that region?
Well, it is having a big impact, especially on the tourism. And with COVID pandemic now gone, many of them were hoping that the tourists will be able to come back and their livelihoods will be able to pick up. But parts of the Jeolla province here in Korea are known for their beautiful water, their pristine water, in fact. And, they have a lot of the touristy sites there. There was this place called Wando where we went to, and one of the restaurant owner there was telling me how sometimes she would have to turn away the tourists or customers coming in because she simply did not have enough water to cook or clean her kitchen or do anything inside that restaurant. And so, they're not able to take in customers. A lot of the inns or the accommodation places, especially those, you see, they simply cannot take in customers because this is a place where they only get water supply 2 times in 1 week. And so they have to save the water during those 2 days that they do get water. And during the rest of that week, they have to live off that water that they have saved. So it's hard to believe that this is actually happening here in Korea, but that is the case in 2023 too, and in South Korea. And so, it is hurting their livelihood. And tourists, a lot of the tourists go there not knowing that this is happening. And the owners were saying that they do have the saved water and they just hope that the customers use it up. And then they all leave before the next time they can fill it up because they don't want a lot of Koreans to know about this because they still do want the customers to come back. And so it's tough for them. This area, Wando, is also very famous for its seaweed and abalones. But talking to them, apparently right now, it doesn't have a direct impact yet. But they are very worried because even the abalones need to live off the water, the natural resources that come out of it. And they're just worried too. And like for the seaweed, you would have to wash the salt off it to be able to export it overseas. But they didn't unable to do that because there's just simply no water and they have to conserve.
Of course, the big question is why, right? Why is this happening? Coming up, we're going to talk about climate change and its role in all of this. More with Yun Suk after this.
Hi, my name is Julie Yu, and I'm the host of the Climate Conversations. Each week, I speak to guests who give us tips on how we can protect the Earth. Every once in a while, we also have interesting stories, like how Singapore's first Tesla owner prompted billionaire Elon Musk to reach out to Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong, or a chef who makes the juiciest burgers from only plant-based ingredients. For more stories like these, look for the Climate Conversations on our CNA and Me Listen apps or wherever you get your podcasts.
When I first heard about your story, Yun Suk, and how you were covering a water shortage in South Korea of all places, I have to admit, the first 2 words that came into my mind were climate change, right? How strong is the correlation in this case? What did experts tell you?
Oh, very close. I think, everybody that I spoke to did say that it was all related to climate change and global warming too. This is not just a South Korean issue, but it is something that the whole world is global. Other countries all face these days. But the funny thing is because this climate change and global warming, right now we're talking about not having enough rain and how there's this drought. But that's only during certain months. When the summer hits us and when it becomes July, August, I'll probably be here talking to you about the flooding situation here in Korea because we'll have floods. And so, it's either whether you have too much rain, you don't have enough rain. But right now, a lot of experts are saying that they're just not getting the adequate amount as they did in the past. And even the weather forecasts are very different from what it was in the past. They're not right. A lot of time they're wrong because it's just so hard to predict what the weather conditions are going to be here these days.
So you talk about just waiting simply for the rainy season to begin to maybe help the situation a bit, but that's not really going to solve the bigger problem here. So what sort of longer-term solutions does the government propose?
Well, that seems like what the South Korean government did for the last few years, because this is a problem that really, I don't think hit South Korea just this year. It has been something that has been piling up for the last few years. And except the South Korean government didn't really see the seriousness of this. And I think the government thought that, oh, if we get rain, hopefully in a month or two, this will all go away. But they realized that this is a serious issue, and that's why the South Korean government decided to invest in about $8 million into a vessel that can desalinate the water as it moves around from one island to another. And so this vessel, and it's called the Dreams, it is able to convert the seawater into fresh water for people to be able to drink. And I tried it, and, it tastes no different from any other water. And so they're hoping that with this, they will be able to move around to different islands where they're not getting enough water and be able to give them that water they need, at least for now.
And that is the world's first mobile seawater desalination plant, right?
Yes, it is. That's what the South Korean government says. And that's why they think that this vessel will be needed not just here in South Korea, but around the world. And so they are hoping that they will be able to export this technology to other countries and help other countries also facing water shortage.
Wow, that's a hopeful outlook, hopefully, that this technology can be shared to other countries in the region and beyond. While we may not all be facing an acute water shortage, this is really a great reminder, Yun Suk, to take care of water because it is finite and it's definitely not guaranteed. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
The TV version of CNA Correspondent airs on CNA every Wednesday at 9:30 p.m. Catch up with them anytime on cna.asia. The team behind this episode is Saya Win, Clara Ong, Crispina Robert, and me, Teresa Tang. Thanks for listening.
Did you miss your deadline to renew your Medicaid coverage? You can still send your completed annual review form to Healthy Connections Medicaid. You may be assigned to another health plan, but you can ask to come back to First Choice within 60 days of renewed Medicaid eligibility. It's your family. It's your choice. First Choice is the right choice. Renew and choose us. Visit selecthealthofsc.com/renew to learn more.